Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us at Studies in Historical Trauma and Transformation at Stellenbosch University. I am Kim Whale, and I'm going to be chairing the session today on citizens' action against corruption in times of coronavirus. We have a wonderful panel of activists and scholar activists with us today to speak about the challenges of this time of coronavirus in relation to issues of South African democracy and civic action. It is also significant that this week is Africa Week and that we are celebrating Africa Week in the context of the global situation of the health pandemic. And in many ways, this webinar speaks to the particular challenges faced by South African citizens in the Eastern Cape during this challenging time and their responses to what they are finding, and how they connect to well-established networks of student and civil society organizations committed to calling out the lack of government transparency in the Sakisizwe district in the Eastern Cape. So I'm still going to introduce our panelists in a moment, but before I get there, I want to thank Landi Meyering, who is our technical facilitator of this webinar, and she's behind the Studies in Historical Trauma and Transformation icon, and she will be helping me to field questions and with the technical aspects of the webinar. And then I also want to get a sense of who is in the room with us today. So what we like to do at the beginning of our webinar, I know our participants are currently on 40 and more will be joining us as we go along with the webinar. But for now, what I would invite us all to do is to introduce ourselves to each other. So if you open up the chat function, which is at the bottom of the screen, if you put your icon to the bottom of the screen, and you just type in there your name and your affiliation or where you are joining us from, the chat function should be enabled. So yeah, the invitation is that you please type in your name, and so we can all see who we are sitting with, and that would be wonderful. And while you do that, Landi, just to check if the chat function has been enabled there. Perfect. Welcome, Kevin. Welcome, everyone who's putting their names down. Thank you. So I also want to ask that we don't ask the questions in the chat function, that there is a separate function, the Q&A function, also at the bottom, which is where we will ask our questions to the panelists. So the panelists will all speak to us for about 15 minutes each, and then I will open up for questions and answers, and you use the Q&A icon to type your questions. Please also remember to include your details in the questions, so your name and your affiliation or where you are joining us from. Great. So I would like to welcome our speakers, and I would like for all of you in the virtual room to join me in really thanking them for coming to speak to us about this very relevant and current topic. With us today, we have Professor Lungasile Nsebeza. Lungasile is a professor and the holder of the A.C. Jordan Chair in African Studies at the University of Cape Town. He is also the holder of the National Research Foundation, the Chair in Land Reform and Democracy in South Africa. He has conducted extensive published research on the land question in South Africa, and his book on the subject, Democracy Compromised, Chiefs and the Politics of Land in South Africa, was published in 2005 by Brill, and he has also published two co-edited books on these issues. Then we have Nombuzo Sylvia Napote with us, who is a coordinator of the Rural Democracy Program, a member of Siazaka Land and Development Movement, an affiliate of Inyanda National Land Movement, and a community leader and activist. Her involvement in Sakisizwe civil society structures seeks to remind the local municipality of the necessity of transparency and community involvement in decision-making processes. And last but not least, we have Dr. Fani Mtlapai, who holds a PhD in sociology from the University of Cape Town. He is currently a research associate of the Center for African Studies at UCT, as well as a senior researcher for the Trust for Community Outreach and Education, which supports the Inyanda National Land Movement of poor and rural landless people. Fani's work on issues of land and local governance combines research with mobilization to support rural people in their struggles for socioeconomic justice. So I want to really thank the speakers for joining us on this virtual forum to speak about these issues. And I'm going to hand over first to Prof. Nsibeza, who will be followed by Nombuzo and then Fani. So Prof. Nsibeza, please will you be looking forward to what you have to share with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. What I'm going to talk about very briefly is about my research and how it connects with the Sakisizwe area, the case for today's discussion. My research revolves around three themes. The first theme is democratization in South Africa's countryside. The second is on land and equity. And the third theme is on social movements and citizenship participation in decision-making processes and in the implementation of government policies. The first and the last themes, namely democratization and citizenship participation, are pertinent for today's discussion. The key proposition informing the theme around democratization in the countryside is that the recognition by the South African Constitution of the institution of traditional leadership, whose incumbents are unelected, compromise the post-1994 democratic project. The institution or the structures that have been put in place in post-1994 South Africa, my argument goes, are modeled along the lines of the apartheid created tribal authorities and are characterized by having a majority of unelected members. This then gives rise to questions about the meaning of democracy for people residing in rural areas that are under the jurisdiction of chiefs. In essence, my research is on local government in the rural areas of the former Bantustans, which were and continue to be administered by traditional authorities. Before the advent of democracy in South Africa in 1994, these rural areas were exclusively administered by traditional authorities who were an extended arm of the apartheid regime and, following their apartheid masters, were highly despotic. Towns and cities were run by municipalities. With the advent of democracy, the division between the rural and the urban was eliminated. Municipalities made up of elected councillors were extended to all parts of the country, and this included rural areas that were under the rule of traditional authorities, where, as I said, municipalities did not exist. In many ways, this marked, at least in theory, a significant step towards extending democracy to rural areas. Fieldwork that I have conducted in the run-up to the first local government elections under the new dispensation showed that rural residents had high expectations that democracy would bring relief. Some of these hopes were fueled by election promises, but practice proved otherwise. Hardly a year after the first elections, rural residents were already complaining about poor performance of the elected councillors. The latter were accused of being invisible and unavailable. They were also accused of not delivering on their promises. The burning issues in most rural areas in the former Bantustanes, apart from land for residential purposes, grazing and the like, is infrastructure, especially water and roads. These services fall within the jurisdiction of municipalities. As is widely accepted, municipalities have consistently failed to deliver on these services, particularly in rural areas. In no time, councillors lost the confidence of rural residents, including those who initially supported them. Some turned to traditional authorities and begged to be forgiven for demonstrating against them, that is traditional authorities, when these residents were campaigning in favor of elected councillors. My initial reaction to this loss of popularity was sympathetic. A feature of municipalities in democratic South Africa is that they are fewer, bigger, and there are fewer councillors. For example, the Sakisiza municipality that we will be talking about is made up of two small towns, Cala and Elliot, and their countryside comprising villages and commercial farms. Unlike the towns, where populations are concentrated, the villages and farms are vast and the populations scattered. I understood the claim of rural residents that councillors were invisible and not available against this background. I also reasoned that councillors were not to blame for the non-delivery of services such as the provision of water and the maintenance of roads, as these were bulk services that fell under the district municipality, the Chris Hani district municipality in the case of the Sakisiza municipality. The eruption of so-called service delivery protests, which became a feature of South Africa's life in the last decade or so, forced me to take a closer look at what was happening in municipalities. Hitherto, I had understood municipalities from the perspective of rural areas. The opportunity presented itself when in 2018, there was a shutdown of services in the Sakisiza municipal area, which is my research site. My key concern was to investigate the role of civil society structures in the resolution of the crisis facing not only that municipality, but most municipalities in the Eastern Cape. Focusing on this issue was in line with one of my research themes, as outlined at the outset. The issue of civil society participation is one of my research themes, as I said. The key focus of this theme is agency, which is the role, if any, social movements and civil society structures more broadly play in policy formulation and implementation. In my research on the land question in South Africa, I identified social movements in the land sector as one of the explanations for the slow pace of land reform in South Africa. They were, in my opinion, weak in the sense that they were unorganized and did not have a coherent plan of action. But I must say the unprecedented farm workers' strike of 2012-2013 forced me to reconsider my judgment. Now, with local government, I found that there was much more active engagement between officials and councillors of municipalities on the one hand, and the residents in these municipal areas. Before the declaration of the state of disaster in March this year, marches, protests, burning of tires, and so on were the order of the day in South Africa. The case we are discussing today is a good example of citizenship participation in matters that affect people's lives. My colleagues will say more about this. What I want to do in conclusion is to make a few remarks based on my initial findings, which may be relevant to today's discussion. In the first instance, the Sakisisa municipality strikes me as an example of municipalities in the Eastern Cape that are in a state of impunity. There is significant evidence that shows a tendency on the part of those who are in leadership positions to cover up rather than investigate allegations made against their comrades. This fits neatly with the practice of cadre deployment and the marginalization of people who are not blindly obedient to the ruling party. Furthermore, a significant number of people are employed without appropriate qualifications, often in instances where qualified but non-aligned people would be disqualified and not appointed. Secondly, there is lack of transparency on the part of municipality officials and councillors. The struggles that the Forum of Civil Society structures in the Sakisisa municipal area are going through is a case in point. Since 2018, this forum has been requesting and demanding without success access to what in the normal run of a democratic state are public documents, such as financial reports, annual reports, and so on. Sadly, this matter is now destined to go to our courts. Linked to the issue of lack of transparency is the refusal of the leadership of the Sakisisa municipality to grant its citizens their constitutional right to participate in the affairs of the municipality, both at the level of policy formulation and implementation. The Sakisisa Forum of Civil Society Structures regards their right to be involved in the running of the municipality as their constitutional right. In this regard, the forum sought legal opinion from some of the top constitutional lawyers in South Africa. These lawyers agreed with the interpretation of the forum. All this has so far fallen on deaf ears. A widely held view is that lack of transparency and resisting citizenship participation are meant to create room for brazen corruption, where public funds, including funds set aside to deal with disasters such as COVID-19, are used to enrich so-called comrades. But one thing I have learned and am learning is that there are times when impunity cannot be tolerated by those on the receiving side. I leave it to my colleagues to develop this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Nteveza, for that wonderful framing of the issues at stake here. and the history and the politics behind it, and really setting the stage for the significance and importance of this case study. And our next speaker, Nomvuzo, is a community activist who has been at the forefront of challenging the instances of the lack of transparency and the case study around coronavirus that we will be speaking about today. And I also welcome Prof. Pumla Gabordo-Madikizela, who is the director of our unit, and she's on sabbatical at the moment, but she's kindly joined us to help with translation. So I'm going to hand over to Nomvuzo, and Pumla will translate. Thank you, Nomvuzo, and welcome. Remember to unmute your screen so we can all hear you. Perfect.
Okay. Molweni ke bese ndichaziwe ke ngendlela esisebenza ngayo kulomba we-rural democracy. Omnye wemisebenzi endiwenzayo ngulowo wokuququzelela into yoba uluntu maluthathe inxaxheba kwizinto ekuthatheni izigqibo kwimeko eqhutywayo ekuhlaleni nakurhulumente. Abantu bangaboni sekusenzeka into bengazi ba kwenzeka ntoni.
One of my, I greet you all, one of my responsibilities is to ensure that members of communities take a stand and reclaim their sense of agency in order to speak back to the authorities and to ensure that matters that concern them are addressed by themselves.
Yiyo lento ndikwazileyo ukuthatha inxaxheba xa ndisiva kwi-social media kuthethwa ngezigulane ezizawufika eMallorca lube uluntu lungayazi, because not bonke abantu bayakwazi ungena kwi-social media. Loo nto ithetha ukuthi abantu bagqityelwa bakhange babe nalizwi lokuba bona bangacebisa bathini.
I heard for the first time that there's a group of people who have tested positive for COVID-19 on social media. They were transported from another city to this guest house called Mallorca in Gala. None of us knew about this. People were not consulted. We just heard on social media that a group of people who are COVID positive are going to be brought to be quarantined in this guest house.
Ndithetha ke ndijolise kuluntu lonke kodwa ingakumbi uluntu lwasezilalini nasezifama ngabantu abanganakekelwanga enoba bona abanalizwi kwizigqibo ezithathwayo akucinga nto ngabo ababalele into babona bakule nkululeko bakulo rhulumente balihlobo lokuthatha inxaxheba kwizinto ezikhoyo.
There's a tendency to ignore people who are in rural areas as if democracy for them doesn't count, as if they are not counted as human beings in this new democracy. And so my role really is to ensure that they are put back on the agenda.
Yiyo loo nto ke sithe ndawuva kwi-social media sakwazi ukuthetha through WhatsApp noluntu, ndaorganiza ulutsha nabantu abakwaziyo ukungena ukuba lo mcimbi uvakele nabavile nabantu ba kukho ingxaki yezigulane ezizawufika eMallorca. Mallorca leyo ke ikufuphi nendlela eya kwiilali ezininzi echaphazela iilali ezininzi including le lali yaseCala Reserve.
We were very concerned because this guest house in Mallorca is right at the entrance into these large villages in Cala. And we organized a group of young people because young people are now out of school. We organized a group of young people to take a stand because if this guest house is at the entrance, it means that it would be easy for people within this community, this large rural community, to be affected by this condition.
Izigulane ngokuva kwethu zifike nge-15 ka-April eMallorca. Then thina sizokuthatha amanyathelo nge-17 okuba sibuye size edolophini si-organize kodwa elo nanana limbalwa likwazi ukuza edolophini sizokwazi abanye bafumane ii-networks sizokwazi uxelela uluntu lonke including icala lena uba bayazi na into yoba kukho le ngxaki ikhoyo apha ecala.
Khawubaxelele ngale guest house bayekabani mhlawumbi at this point ungabaxelela.
Okay. Ngalo mhla we-15 ka-April kwi-guest house ka-MEC uWeziwetikana ebizwa ngokuba yi-Mioka Lodge kuye kwafika izigulane phaya ezichaphazelekileyo kwi-corona.
The guest house is owned by an MEC whose name is Weziwetikana, and we heard that these people are going to be brought to be quarantined at the guest house that she owns. Now, she says that it's owned by her daughter, but it is really the same thing because it's owned by her. And we mobilized people on the 17th after we had heard on the 15th that this group of people who are positive, coronavirus positive, will be brought to Mioka Guest House.
Indlela esenze ngayo ke kuba ibilixesha le-lockdown. Sithathe iqaqobana ukwenzela uba singophula umthetho. Sizama ugcina imithetho ye-corona ye-lockdown. Sawoma phambi kwe-police station. Sazama ucela amapolisa phofu sigcine i-social distance. Ucela amapolisa siwacacisele ngaba anolwazi nangezigulane eziyobekwa eMiyoka. Miyoka leyo ke ikufuphi nelali ezininzi.
We were aware that there are coronavirus regulations of social distancing and the number of people who should congregate, and we observed all of those rules, and we went to the police station to protest and to demand to know for the police whether they were aware of this group of people who were going to be brought to the Mioka Guest House.
Amapolisa asiphendule ngelithi azawuvuka nge-18 aye eMiyoka kusasa ayotshekisha ubunyani balento siyithethayo. Okunene ke avukile nge-18 nathi sivukile kaphinda nge-18 salandelela ukuqinisekisa into yoba lukhona ulandelelo kwingxelo yethu ebesiyizisile. Siwabonile ke ephuma amapolisa aya eMiyoka salandela thina emva kwabo ukuqinisekisa into yoba okunene nyani izigulane zikhutshiwe.
After we made the call to the police, they also responded and went to see for themselves what was going on at Mioka Guest House on the 18th of April.
Yeah. Into esiyenzeleyo thina asiyanga eMiyoka, simele kude entabeni apho besifuna ukwenza ubungqina boba izigulane zimkile sathatha ifoto ukubonisa into yoba inene into yoba izigulane bezikhona eMiyoka. Sathatha ifoto zahamba izigulane zokuqala zalile zakuhamba nathi saphinda semka khona eMiyoka apho zasheka ezinye.
Our main demand when we went to the police was that we did not want these people to be housed at this guest house because of the dangers that exist around coronavirus, it being a disease that is contracted through the air really. So we wanted to make sure that when people pass through Mioka, because it's such a junction, a major junction, we wanted to make sure that no one is affected by the presence of these people. So on the 18th of April, we confirmed that the first group of patients were indeed transported back to wherever they came from. But then there was a group of them who still remained, and we stood by to ensure that everyone has left the guest house.
Sibuyile kwakhona sazokulinda kwalapha edolophini pha nge-past 2 sithe xa sicingayo ukuphinda siyokukhumbuza amapolisa into yoba makuyokhutshwa abasisaleleyo sidibene nazo imoto ziphuma zisiya thina salandela ngemva bahamba bayobakhupha salinda thina ecala reserve beza nabo.
Gqibezela ke
Okay, salinda thina ecala reserve beza nabo. Njengoko besenzile kuqala sathi sa ukufota ukuqinisekisa nokuthoba amaxhala ebantwini abantu bazi into ba abantu bemkile kuba abantu bibaphethe kakubi lanto eseNew York. Safota ke ezimotweni sizama ufota imoto yezigulane iambulance amapolisa zedlula zithe sezidlulile zaphinda zabuya imoto yeambulance yamisa yasakhwetywa sonke kwabuyiswa kwakhwetywa neveni biseyimkile apha bekushiyeke itaxi ngemva enamapolisa enye iveni yamapolisa lawa secala ibiseyihamba yabizwa nayo yabuya back babuya ke baphuma emotweni bakhupha izibhamu basikhomba ngezibhamu sonke baqala kum ke mna bandixelela into yoba mandiphume ngaphandle ndifotela ntoni ndiyi-journalist na ndabaxelela into yoba hayi andinafowuni ifotayo mna baza ke bathi ndifuna bayikhangele ngokwabo na apha emotweni ndathi hayi ndingayikhangela ngelishwa ke caba zange ndiyifihle nakude ndayijulafa ngaphantsi kuba ndithe xa ndiphakamayo yaqengqeleka bayithatha ke kodwa mandiphume nayo ndize kubo ndaya nabo kubo kwabuzwa ndiyi-journalist nale nto ndifotayo ndathi andiyo-journalist into ena ndiqinisekisa into yoba abantu aba banexhala lezigulane kufuneka bezibonile izigulane bazimkile sizokwazi ukukhululeka because ayisiphethanga kamandi into ezigulane kodwa make ndivule ii-pictures zam mandidilithe zonke ii-pictures ezikhoyo ndadilitha ke.
Oh, Nkosi. This whole thing was a real major concern among people. It created a lot of fear because people knew how coronavirus spreads. And so we stood by, we wanted to make sure that the last of these patients had left. And so we followed all the vans, all the trucks of the police as the people were being driven out of this guest house. We stood at a distance, we took pictures, all the young people who were at school. I think this is my comment. This is a very important part of this mobilization that young people got involved as well. The school kids got involved. And so everyone was taking pictures just to tell the story, to record what happened. What was most upsetting for us and disconcerting for us is that as we stood, not committing any acts of violence, just taking photographs to record what was going on, the police jumped out of their cars. They started pointing at us with firearms, threatening us, wanting us to delete, forcing us to delete photos. They rounded up everyone, the school kids. They came to me first and demanded that I give them my phone. And they went to everyone who had a cell phone, and demanded that they delete their photographs. And as we speak, we have no record of that incident. We have no record of the police pointing firearms at us, and yet it did happen. And they made sure that this is obliterated completely.
Kunjalo ke nakulutsha njengosowutshilo into yoba nabo badilithiswa sathathwa one by one wonke umuntu baqiniseke into yoba uzidilithile zonke ezi pictures bezigqibo zithatha.
What I forgot to translate is that one of the questions that they demanded of her is whether what right she had to take photographs. She was not a journalist. She should not be taking photographs because she's not a journalist. She has no right to take photographs. And so they deleted her photographs on the grounds that she has no right to take pictures. And so what she was saying just now is that the young people also were very frightened by the police pointing guns at them and demanding that they delete their photos, and everyone did as they were told because now they were being threatened with firearms.
Kuyo yonke ke loo nto yenzekayo, eyona nto yasivuyisayo yinto uba ekupheleni kosuku izigulane zahamba abantu bahlala bekhululekile kwindawo abakuyo. Ndingatsho ndithi okokuqala ukucela kwethu uba kukhutshwe izigulane besingalwanga nabantu abagulayo. Singatsho ukuthi abantu bebengenawuthathwa bakhwarantinwe kuloo ndawo. Inye thina into ebesiyifuna yi-consultation, into yoba kuthethwane nathi sibe nelizwi njengabahlali sitsho ukucebisa ukuthi bekunojongwa kukho nezikolo apha ezingasenabantwana izikolo ezidala bekunolungiswa izikolo kufakwe abantu izigulane zigcinwe khona kakuhle kungathathwa izigulane zibekwe kwindawo ephakathi kwabantu without izivumelwano thina sifuna kuvumelwane nathi ilizwi lethu livakale kurhulumente.
I just want to emphasize that in our action we were not against the patients coming to Gala, coming to our community. However, we were concerned that there was no preparation whatsoever. People just came to be dumped in this guest house without any preparation, not of the guest house, not of us as community of Gala. We were not consulted. We really were not fighting the patients themselves, but we're fighting the way that this thing was done. It was opportunistic of the MEC to take advantage of this period without consulting people. People's lives and health was at stake, and this is the only reason we took action. There were other places where they could have been taken to. They could have prepared empty schools, old hostels that are no longer operational, but they chose a guest house that is right at the beginning of a junction where everyone passes through. And we thought that this was very, very unreasonable, very careless of the MEC to do this, putting people's health at stake with this kind of condition that is so deadly. Enkosi, ucebile Mosne?
No, xa ujongile okunene u-MEC ebebeke ubomi babantu emngciphekweni kuba le BNB yakhe isecala kwendlela. Le BNB yakhe ukhona umzi osecala kwayo. Number 2, yindawo abantu basecala reserve apho batyhalela khona impahla. Bahamba apha ecala kwalomzi babe bengekho aweke ngoku into bakukho into enjena. Le nto besifuna into bakuthethwa nabantu baye endaweni beyazi bekwazi bezikhusele besazi bakukho le ngxaki ekhoyo. Enkosi.
Enkosi kakhulu, we felt that, I mean, this is one of the things that I want to emphasize in closing my presentation, that the MEC's guest house is really right next to the road. There are houses around it. It's also a passage for livestock, people who are, you know, pushing their livestock to grazing lands. They pass this place. And if people knew at least that this is happening, people would know to protect themselves so that when they pass by this house, they would be protected. We felt it was very irresponsible for the MEC to do this, that it also marks just a sense of not caring for the lives of people who have voted them into these positions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nombuzo and Pumla, for translating. I now will hand over to Fani, who will share his reflections on this case study and how it links to the broader participation of civil society in democracy. Fani, remember to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Nomvuzo's actions should be viewed in the context of the organizations and the ongoing struggles she is involved in. She is a farmer, an activist, a local leader that has overcome many challenges, including standing against men at a time when women are not expected to do so. She is also a board member of the Gala University Students Association, Zalusa, that has been in existence since 1983. Central in its programs, the NGO has been promoting education in general and making communities aware of challenges taking place around them, including government policies. Until 2 years ago, Zalusa was part of a national non-governmental organization called the Trust for Community Outreach and Education, which promotes participatory development practices. So the two organizations, through their programs, provided information and built the confidence of local people to understand and exercise their rights. Nomvuzo has benefited from this environment presented by these organizations. So Nomvuzo's story also highlights the importance of the development of local leaders and their role in supporting the communities to deal with issues that worry them. As will be seen below, there is a huge role for local leaders that are concerned about the welfare of ordinary poor people. Through these organizations, various leaders have emerged and have played significant roles in developments in the former Kalanga Magisterial District and Sakisizwe local municipality. From early 2000, these leaders were part of land struggles of landless people in Sakisizwe and Emalahleni local municipality. They fought for a better and speedy implementation of the land reform program. Some of the leaders played a critical role in the National Land Summit in 2005. Nomvuzo was part of those leaders whose combined interventions led to a number of families acquiring land through the land reform program in the Sakisizwe and Emalahleni local municipalities. In 2007, in response to the challenges of land reform and landlessness, the local leaders formed an organization called Siyazakha Land and Development Forum. Nomvuzo is one of the founders and is still a leader of the organization. From 2008, Siyazakha supported residents of Tsengiwe administrative area in their demand for extension of democracy to rural areas that will allow residents to elect their leaders or headmen. This was in reaction to an imposition of an unelected headman by the Traditional Council. And this new trend of subverting democratic processes emerged after the promulgation of the Traditional Leadership and Governance Framework Act in 2003, which regulated the establishment of traditional councils as well as the role of traditional authorities. From 2013, the demand for rural democracy was taken up by the residents of Tsala Reserve, of which Nomvuzo is part, under the leadership of the Planning Committee. The Planning Committee challenged the imposition of an unelected headman in their area by the local chief and traditional council. The struggle was eventually decided in 2015 by the High Court in favor of the Planning Committee. She was centrally involved in this struggle. Currently, she coordinates the Rural Democratization Campaign nationally under the auspices of Inyanda National Land Movement. The campaign's aim is the mobilization of rural residents to exercise their right of getting involved in decision-making processes, including decisions about their leaders. It is also a campaign that enforces the right of poor people to not only be consulted, but to be able to take informed decisions on matters affecting them. When protests broke out in the Sakisizwe local municipality from July to the end of September 2018, Xalusa, together with Siyazakha, resolved to get involved in the struggle. The two organizations mobilized other civil society organizations to assess and discuss ways of resolving the crisis. Lack of democracy and accountability in governance of local leaders was identified as the main cause of the crisis. Thus, the civil society organizations started demanding governance that is democratic and accountable. The various civil society organizations constituted themselves into the Sakisizwe Civil Society Structures Forum, which has been in existence since early 2019. Nomvuzo became one of the forum's leaders. The forum's leaders intervened in support of the local residents who were concerned about the government bringing in people from other areas into Tsala. I mean, as the story Nomvuzo has told, she was part of this broader struggle by the civil society structures. The efforts of the forum helped to expose a number of issues concerning the saga. The efforts revealed that there were a lot of questions concerning the decision to bring people affected by the coronavirus to a BNB in Tsala. A combination of strategies were employed to put pressure on the government, which ranged from statements in print and social media. And although the premier tried to deflect the attention by accusing the forum for stigmatizing people with the coronavirus, a lot came out of the saga. The health MEC, for instance, distanced herself from the from the decision to bring these people to the BNB. In a media briefing, the MEC was surprised that the BNB, instead of a health facility, was chosen to keep the people in who were affected. Interestingly, it turned out that the MEC for Public Works was behind the decision to use a BNB of a child of a fellow MEC as a quarantine site in Tsala. The forum is pursuing legal action to get to the bottom of the factors that were considered in bringing in these people to the area. When the residents and the forum intervened in the above mentioned case, no one knew that the Krisani District Municipality, of which Sakisizwe is part, would become one of the hotspots for the coronavirus in the country. Indeed, cases of coronavirus keep growing in Sakisizwe. For instance, in the municipal offices, there are cases. Health workers in the local hospital are also affected. And there are residents in the various villages that are also affected. Yet the local committee dealing with the coronavirus under the leadership of the mayor is so secretive of its operations. It is as if it's still engaged in an underground struggle. The joint committee has turned down a request by the forum to have its members in it. At the same time, the committee makes no effort to keep the residents informed about the state of the pandemic in Sakisizwe. Moreover, the mayor and the chief finance officer have also declined to share with the forum the municipality's adjusted draft budget, which is supposed to respond to the pandemic. In closing, the above highlights that this country is short of leaders that put human needs ahead of profits and personal interests. Although South Africa's constitution in guiding the democratic project is hailed as the best in the world, the implementation of this democratic project marginalizes the majority of poor sections of the population. Currently, the whole world is faced with a crisis of global warming and environmental degradation due to leaders that do not only think about their immediate benefits, but also about the future of generations. Until and unless ordinary citizens stand up and fight for their legitimate space in decision-making processes, leaders and those with influence will continue taking decisions that have negative effect on the people. This calls for people to stand up and take charge of their future. This means the struggle Nomvuzo is part of is about the struggle for democratic participation, direct participation of people in decisions that affect them. And in closing, I would say that South Africa needs leaders like Nomvuzo that are passionate and who are concerned about the well-being of citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fani, Nombuzo, and Nongosile. I really get the sense that you are setting an example, Nombuzo, for what we need to be doing, not just as South Africans, but as global citizens, as Fani, you were saying towards the end of your presentation, and bringing it back to questions of agency, Nongosile, and the fact that we do have agency. And but it's a struggle that you've been fighting for a long time. I also get that sense. I mean, I look at the three of you, and there's so much history in connection with Alusa that was formed in 1983, and that in many ways it's a struggle that continues, that also connects to old structures of resistance and the power in those, but to new challenges that you're facing. So I'm very grateful that you came to share with us today, and also ended on that inspirational note of what is possible, and that it's not simply about the case study that you're speaking of, but a much bigger issue of governance and agency. I would like to I would first like everyone to join us virtually in thanking the speakers. I know you won't be able to hear the claps, but you can imagine them. You can hear mine. Thank you so much. And we have one question to start us off. Please, I encourage the audience to write your questions in the question and answer session. And I will ask this question to the panel. So it's from Edwin Ruigi. And Edwin says, hello. Thank you so much for putting this together. My name is Edwin Ruigi, listening in from Nairobi, Kenya. So the global connection. Lovely to have you join us from Kenya. I have a research interest in participatory democracy. In light of the capture of municipality and district councils, have there been any successful public civil society organizing around budget transparency? Are there any participatory budgeting experiments, for example, in the Bantustans? So any of our panel who would like to speak to Edwin's question, remember to unmute yourself.
Should I give it a shot?
That would be great. Thanks, Prof.
I mean, I do research, in the Eastern Cape, and my approach, to research, is to try and situate myself, at the interface between, academic work and civil work and so on. So I'm at that interface. My response to this question is that there are various initiatives that are challenging municipalities. But my sense, and my colleagues, are free to sort of to correct me here. My sense is that these efforts tend to be done in isolation. Let's say, for instance, the Sakisizwe initiative. It is one initiative, but you don't hear much about the extent to which this initiative links up with other initiatives. And that is a potential problem. But having said this, now I would say this: in the case of Sakisizwe, this forum in particular, they are beginning to make efforts in that direction. For example, in the Eastern Cape, there have been 2 cases that have been taken to court against municipalities, one in Makanda, former Grahamstown, and the other one is Lukanji, which is the Queenstown area. And I know for a fact that the forum, the members of the forum are here to speak for themselves. The forum has made efforts to link up with those people who are challenging these municipalities. So there is coordination, but it's embryonic. It's in its early stages.
Can I come in? Yeah. As Professor Ntebeza indicates, there are efforts to link the struggles, even though, I mean, this is still in its initial stages. But there are efforts that are taking place, and the fact that there is recognition of a need to link up the various struggles, I think for me is a positive thing. Whether there has been any successes or not, it's still early to talk of successes, because at the moment these civil society structures and these struggles are mainly about people getting to know what the municipalities are doing. I mean, there's still a struggle even to get to know what the municipalities are doing. Therefore, the issue of whether there is a success or not is still early, so to speak. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We have another question. It's from, I think, Nomvuzo, do you also want to answer on that question that was asked before? But I saw a hand up. Okay, so this, there we go. Okay, so the next question is from Rafijuddin Shah. Thanks so much for asking. And they ask, it seems during this pandemic that government has turned more authoritarian, not minded democratic principles of individual rights and privacy. Could the speakers kindly throw some light on the South African experience of this nature, where the government has become more authoritarian and not paying as much attention to individual rights and privacy?
May I translate for Nomvuzo?
Yes, please. Thanks, Bamla.
Thank you. Nomvuzo, umbuzo uthi ohulumende ngokomthetho wawo xa kuvela izinto zinjena ezifana ne-pandemic ezi nezinye disaster, ohulumende baqhela uba babe nesandla esizanga amandla ekwenzeni imithetho yazo. Now uyabuza ke lo muntu ba apha ngokwase South Africa sibona ntoni thina apha eSouth Africa ngendlela uhulumende aphatha ngayo indlela ephatha ngayo idemocracy eSouth Africa. Le ncaza buyenza apha ingumzekelo omhle kakhulu uba uhulumende, for instance, lento ebisenza ngamapolisa uba aveza imipu xa abantu thatha ilungelo labo lokucampaigna asuka asisa amapolisa, ngumzekelo lowo. Uyabuza ke lo muntu into obuthi khawunabise uba ngokwe experience yakho kunabise into ba ingaba uhulumende wase South Africa xa yena kuvela ezi zinto zifana nezi zifo, yintoni into ayenzayo ukubonakalisa into ba idemocracy lena ifanele abantu bonke? Nditsho right, Bhiza?
Yeah. Ngokwendlela endibona ngayo mna, urhulumente abantu alindele into yoba bangathatha inxaxheba nabantu abanoba nelizwi xa kufika izinto ezintsha like ezi zifo uthetha ngazo, ngabantu abakurhulumente. Ndiphawula into yoba umamela abantu bakhe abakurhulumente, especially abantu abangezo-politicians, akanandaba nabo. Ndenza umzekelo ngantoni? Ndenza umzekelo ngento yokufumanisa like le nto ye-food parcels. Ezi food parcels zimele uba ngoku kukho le ngxaki ye-corona, ii-food parcels zingena kwiindawo zonke kubantu bonke abahlelelekileyo. But isango likarhulumente angena ngalo, ungena ngabantu bakhe abazi-ward committees, apho kufuneka abantu bakhe abazi-ward committees bezichuzele abantu babo ngokuthanda kwabo. Uyayibona? Ufumanisa into yoba bashiyekile abona abantu bebemele uba bathathe inxaxheba kuba abakhange bafakwe phakathi. Okwesibini, umthetho wase-South Africa wona mhle xa ungawuva utolikwa, kodwa izenzo zawo azitsho. Xa uva kuthethwa onke amanqanaba ayacalucalulwa zonke, umntu ohlelelekileyo notheni, intatho-nxaxheba kumntu wonke njalo njalo. But intatho-nxaxheba xa uyijongile uyawufumanisa into yoba ibaluleke xa kusiyiwa evotini. Intatho-nxaxheba ke abathetha ngayo xa kuzawuyiwa evotini, okunene intatho-nxaxheba yomntu wonke iyafunwa. When it comes kusiyiwa kwizigqibo, iyaphela intatho-nxaxheba ngoku ngabantu abathile kufanele bethathe izigqibo. Abanye abantu bashekela ngemva, ingakumbi abantu abahlalelekileyo. Urhulumente wethu akabathatheli ngqalelo abantu abahlelelekileyo abangathathi ntweni.
The two points I want to make in response to this question. One is that although our government is praised as the most progressive, the most democratic on paper, constitutionally speaking, it's got hits all the right points, human rights issues, recognition of citizens' rights and so on. Yet in practice, we don't see this at all. There are several examples. For instance, right now, we have so many people who are in need of support for their needs of food, and the government has been delivering food parcels. But the way that this is done is so selective that it is clearly only designed to benefit people who are chosen by ward councillors. The food parcels are selectively distributed to people who are supporting the government, but not according to need. And this is a very big problem, because in the end, the people who deserve to be supported are not benefiting equally. And one can see this, in fact, even in the way that decisions are made in general, that while democracy is perceived as the way to conduct the business of, leading with people, for the people, in action, decisions are only made by politicians. They only come to us when they need the vote. You see a lot of activity and campaigning into our communities just close to elections. As soon as the vote happens, the politicians then make decisions themselves without following through on what people really want. These are the problems that are more visible now at times of crisis such as this.
Thank you, everyone. We have Harry Wells joining us from the Netherlands to ask us a question about hope. Harry, please welcome.
Thank you very much. So good to see you all. Although you didn't see me, I could hear you and I could see you. I want to thank you all for wonderful presentations, and especially my dear old friend Sila, who's in my top right corner. So good to see you, and to hear your voice again, speaking on these important topics. My question is more of a philosophical nature, and it is in a way maybe timely to raise that issue in the, maybe not in the midst anymore, but still in this pandemic that we are in. And that hits us all and in so many different ways. And that is on the issue of hope that that was mentioned as a very important aspect of activism, of struggles for a better world. And I was struck by when reading in one of the later publications of the French philosopher Bruno Latour, that he said, like, you know, the global world, the Western society is so dependent and hooked on hope that if you don't say that there is still hope, then a lot of people might give up and say, well, what's it worth still to struggle for either social justice or for a better world in terms of climate, or trying to fight further climate change, etc. And looking at my own kind of little life in academia, I recognized that concept of hope has always been important for a better South Africa, for better relations, for better this, for better that, for fighting social injustices, for a more social just world, etc., etc. And all of you on the panel are very much involved in those struggles, and also fed by hope often that in the end, no matter what, it will turn out for the better. And the philosophical question that Bruno Latour raises is, would you still do all this if there was no hope? And that's not to say that I don't see hope for South Africa, so don't get me wrong. But at the same time, there are processes that we discuss with this panel today that already take a long time and have not shown much improvement, not much hope at the end of the tunnel. Is it still possible to continue this work, this activism, this pushing for a better world, even if there would be no hope at all?
Ndicela utranslate so that Nomvuzo can have a chance to contribute if she wants. Lo mbuzo Nomvuzo unabe kakhulu, kodwa ndiza kunika njena okusemqoka ngawo. Okusemqoka ngawo uthi umbuzo wakhe unento okwenza nethemba, you know, ithemba eluntwini. Uyabuza ukuthi ukuba ngaba bekungekho themba letshintshe ekuhlaleni kulento yokulwela amalungelo oluntu, uba belingekho ithemba, ubuzaba yiyona i-activist nina nonke nje banidibene lo msebenzi niwenzayo wezi organizations benizawenza na ukuba ngaba bekungekho kwathemba lento bakungakho into etshintshayo? Dawuyeka ke lo mbuzo ungathi uprofessor befuna uphendula kuqala, kodwa ndifuna nawe ubucinga uba unento onoyicontribute. Enkosi.
Okay, can I come in? Yeah. Hi, Harry. Nice to see you. Yes, he's a close friend of mine. We are co-managers, editorial managers of the Brill African Studies series. So thanks for your support. I think the best way of answering Harry's philosophical question is to refer Harry to the website of Calusa. And that website is www.calusa.co.za. In that website, which serves as an archive of the work that this organization is doing in that part of the world, working with civil society, and also having some collaborations with the Center for African Studies. That website is used as an archive of the various initiatives that they are doing. Now, if you go there, you'll see that their latest posting is a proposal that it's a proposal with a plan of action that they put forward to the Sakisizo municipality. And that proposal goes something like this. It says that the pandemic, of course, is deadly and people are going to lose their lives and so on. But, and I think the term that's used there is that every cloud has a silver lining. And that silver lining, as presented in that proposal, is one, that since the outbreak of the pandemic, government departments were instructed by this command to realign their budgets to confront and fight this pandemic. And what the forum is saying in that proposal is that, yes, this is an opportunity. Let all departments realign their budget and build, rebuild, refurbish clinics, refurbish hospitals, and bring water closer to people, because this is what is required to deal with the effects of this virus. So if departments were to focus on that, they would not only be fighting the virus, they will also be contributing or putting the foundation for the future development of that area. In the sense that at the end of the day, you will end up with better schools, better clinics, better hospitals, and water provision. And the second element of it is that as we do that, we will be creating jobs for local people. And that proposal is very clear that the jobs that are available should target local people first, especially young people. So we'll be fighting the pandemic, jobs will be available, and in the longer term, this proposal focuses on the nature of that area. That area is a farm area. That area has a history of farming, black and white. And the proposal is saying something like, we'll use this budget that is meant to fight the pandemic to build, to establish a foundation to build a future economy which should be built along agrarian lines. And instead of targeting the cities. And as the agrarian reform picks up in the area, one will find that transformation leads to new opportunities for the two towns, in the sense that industries that are linked to the towns will grow in this town. So I look at that proposal. You must look it, because that proposal has a context. It explains why this approach is recommended, and it comes with very clear, concrete proposals as to what is to be, what can be done. So talking about hope, I don't think that anything would be as hopeful as it would be more hopeful than what is expressed in that proposal. The interesting thing is that that proposal was presented to council, and it was presented as that's a municipality, as the basis for negotiating how the adjusted budget could be used and so on. And as Dr. Fani Ngapai has said, that proposal has been rejected by the council. The council says that that minority, that tiny minority of councillors are the only ones who can decide how that budget can be used. So no, that's the element, no, that's disappointing. But no, if you're talking about people themselves, they are hopeful, they are optimistic, and this is what gives them the spirit, you know, to fight ahead. Go to the Calusa website and you'll see now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Can you type the website to me via chat?
Excuse
Come
me?
again?
Can someone type?
Yes, I did. I popped it on the chat. You might have to scroll down, but I put it up there.
You are a
Thanks,
star.
Harry.
Thanks.
Ndikholelwa ekubeni ngaphandle kwethemba akukho mpumelelo. Ibingenakubakho impumelelo ngaphandle kwethemba kuba sikholelwa kumbono welizwe elitsha, intatho nxaxheba yoluntu lonke kwizinto zonke ezilichaphazelayo. Into ekhokhelisayo ke lithemba eli abuza ngalo umhlekazi. Ngaphandle kwethemba akukho mpumelelo and akukho kuthatha manyathelo. Okwesibini, apho ndikholelwa ekubeni uba apho kukho khona ingxaki sikwakhona isisombululo xa kuthe kwahlanganwa ngentloko, kwaxoxwa, kwabelwana ngezimvo, sikhona isisombululo, ikhona indlela ebheka phambili kuba sifunda ngokwenza.
So what I want to say is that we would never be engaged in this activist organizing that we have done around this issue if we did not believe in hope. We believe in hope, not just blind hope, but because we know that whenever there's a crisis, there will be a solution if people are allowed to come together and to share ideas and to brainstorm on solutions. That in itself is the hope. We also are very hopeful because we have this vision of a new South Africa. This is a vision that we believe in. And we know that this vision will be achieved with the involvement of the wider society. And we as communities, we get involved in the way that we are involved because we believe in this vision of a new South Africa, that people's role in building this new South Africa will be recognized. And that's where our hope comes from.
Yeah, the last point that I would add to what my colleagues have raised is the fact that we believe that people, residents, have the power to cause changes in whatever environment exists. And what drives us is that we see a situation where the municipality is, through pressure from below, is accountable, is responsive to issues of communities, and the leaders are elected and working in the interest of ordinary people. So this, for us, is what also drives us.
Kim, may I take advantage of my presence on the panel and ask a question? Because we've been in conversation about this topic today, I want to ask Professor Lungisile Ntsebeza, I have also to say, just to claim my connection, that this town is my hometown, and Professor Nsebeza and I actually were in school together in the same class throughout our schooling years. So I'm really, it's such a privilege for me to be sitting here with you. I wonder if this problem, this whole issue, we shouldn't reinterpret the problems that we have raised as a human rights violation issue. You know, just listening to you, listening to what Nomvuzo was saying, and the way that you describe the intransigence, you know, the way that the police behave, the way that the municipality is really not stepping up to its responsibility and to respond to the proposal that Talusa has put forward. The ignoring, you know, basically just, you know, not responding appropriately to this crisis and putting people's lives in danger. Shouldn't we reinterpret this as a human rights violations issue, this whole problem? Perhaps not just in Gala, but elsewhere too, as a human rights violations issue. So, Biza, I'm just going to translate for Nomvuzo very briefly to capture the main essence of what I'm saying, Nomvuzo. Dithi kuyo yonke lento nithethayo nichazayo ngendlela umasipala angaphenduli ngayo, you know, is suggestions zeCalusa, ngendlela amapolisa aniphethe ngayo ngalamini beni protesta, ngendlela nje ingathi lento ayithathelwa ntweni ngendlela yokuthi ubomi babantu busesichengeni. Ndithi ke umbuzo wami kuyo yonke lonto leyo, singayijongi lento njengoba yinto ekukuhlukumeza amalungelo oluntu, uba yona isemqoka indlela esinoyijonga ngayo yonke, sithi lento yonke ekugqibeleni kwezinto kukuhlukumeza kwamalungelo, ukwaphulwa kwamalungelo abantu. Thanks, Landi. Thanks, Kim.
Well, I mean, there is no doubt that the struggles that the forum in the Sakisize area, and that forum includes Calusa, but Calusa is not the only organization that is part of this forum. There are about 6 or so other organizations, including the residents' associations of Elliot and Cala. There is no doubt, that the struggles that these organizations are involved in is a human rights struggle. And if you go to that website, I mean, their website, the Calusa website, and you read, the struggles that they have gone through. You read the number of letters they have written to the municipalities, the number of letters they have written to the Krisani district municipality, the number of letters they have written to the provincial executive of the Eastern Cape, right? And you read those, they go up to 3 pages, just the list, not the contents, just the list of the letters and so on. And the way they have been ignored from the local Sakisizwe right up to the provincial executive is a clear sign that, where I started with my presentation, this is impunity. You see, where people who are known to have violated law and so on, escape with murder, because the people who are supposed to enforce these are comrades, and there's a way of protecting each other and ignoring others. These matters are going to to court, because this is probably not the only not the only, I suppose. It's almost the highest. It's out of frustration that people end up taking these things to court. So it is clearly a human rights violation, and for people who are fighting for their constitutional rights in a constitution, it makes a mockery of this notion of South Africa being a constitutional state. I mean, the constitution is very, very clear that, I think, it's 152 something, I mean, on local government, that, it is the right of citizens to participate in the affairs of their municipality. It goes so far as to say that municipalities should act in the interest of its citizens. Now, if municipalities don't listen to their citizens, I mean, that's a violation of the Constitution. These issues have been brought to their attention, they have been ignored, and nothing is happening. We don't know. We still have courts in this country. We don't know how courts are going to decide these issues. But the problem with courts is that it is expensive to take these cases through court, especially if the issue is going to the Constitutional Court, and poor people don't have money. We have cases of people who have valid cases, but who cannot take those cases to court because they cannot be represented. There are no lawyers that are available who can do these cases for them. When we started before, we talked to the public, and and Kim was asking about Xalusa and saying his formation. I said, no, look, Xalusa was formed in 1983. The year she was born, and I've given her a new name that she's not Xalusa from today. And I said, as you are asking this question, what came to my mind is that Xalusa was formed in 1983 at the height of repression. That's what I told you. And Xalusa is still in the center of struggles for human rights, because then 1983, it was an apartheid state, and the struggle was struggle against apartheid, against human rights. For human rights and so on. Now, so many years after our democracy, Xalusa is still involved in that same struggle for human rights and so on. I think the big difference so far, and I emphasize so far, a big difference is that in 1980, in the 80s, we were arrested, we were harassed and so on. And some, like Batando and Ndondo, people were murdered, by the apartheid regime. That hasn't happened so far, and I hope it doesn't happen.
Kim, I just want to share with you that we had spoke with Nomvuzo earlier, and I asked her if she's comfortable with listening to the language of English without my need to translate. So I'm just going to check with her how she feels now. Unjani Nomvuzo, ungaqhubeka umvile uprofessor lo?
Ewe, ndimvile uprofessor. Ndingaqhubekeka nongena nditsho ukuthi ndiyavumelana nalaa ntetho yakho ubuyithetha ithi le nto yenziwa ngumasipala singayijongi njengokuba ingathi into yokuhlukumeza, masiyijonge njengokuba esaphula umthetho wase-South Africa. Ndiyavumelana kuba usection 152 kumgaqo-siseko wase-South Africa ukhuthaza intatho-nxaxheba yoluntu lonke kwimeko yophuhliso lwabo, abantu bathathe inxaxheba. So lo masipala wethu ubonakala njengomasipala owaphula umthetho omkhulu welizwe ngendlela enza ngayo yokuthathela abantu izigqibo, angafuni abantu bathathe inxaxheba kuphuhliso lwabo.
In fact, in addition to what Prof and Nomvuzo are saying, I would say that even Section 2 of the Municipal Systems Act indicates that a municipality is not a municipality without the involvement of a community. Yes. So the issue of community involvement is not just an issue of people of Tala or Sakisizwe simply demanding participation. it's legislated. So it's denying people that right of participation is tantamount to breaking the law.
Okay, thanks everyone. We have 15 minutes left and there are a few questions that I want to get to. I think what we'll do is I'm going to ask 3 of the questions. I'm going to ask Mercia's question, Mariki's question, and Malile's question. And then I will hand over to each of you and you can choose which questions you want to respond to and whatever final word you want to say before we close. So the questions I need to now find. Okay, let's start with Mercia. So Mercia Andrews says to Nombuzo, you are part of a national movement in Yanda. How has this movement challenged the role of municipalities in the Eastern Cape? And what should movements be doing? So I don't know, Prof, if you want to translate for Nombuzo or we keep going. Yeah.
I think right Nombuzo ngalombuzo. Can you repeat Landy?
Yes. So Mercia says, Nombuzo, you are part of the national movement in Yanda. How has this movement challenged the role of municipalities in the Eastern Cape? So and what do you think movements should be doing?
Yeah, imibutho efana neyakho intoni into efanele iyenze xa kunjena kulamaxesha anjena njeba uyimember yale mibutho ucinga uba eyona ndoqo yento efana uba ziyayenza le mibutho kwezi ntsuku ezinjena yintoni? Ungawubeka lo mbuzo uphendule ekugqibeleni.
Okay, shall I continue to, I'm going to continue to ask all the questions and then Nombuzo, you can answer that one when we get to the answer time. And then Mercia also asked to you, Fani, recently together with Lungi, you started a process of alternatives IDPs. So you'll have to explain that to us. How does this type of action gain momentum? So those were Mercia's questions. And then Mariki asked questions about, let's just find the question. So Mariki Olofsson asked, what is the experience of the panelists in how journalists respond when citizens take action against corruption? We know that journalists investigate corruption, but I'm wondering what your relationship with journalists looks like and what your experience is of journalists, especially of journalists working in the mainstream media who have the power to attract attention to corruption. And then finally, Malile, I'm just looking for Malile's question. Good day all. I wish to echo what has already been said and to commend Nombuzo Nopote for her activism and sterling role in bringing to the fore concerns of the marginalized. It is a riveting story of an amazing and very brave woman living through some quite turbulent times. What is concerning is the apparent impunity on the part of municipal and political functionaries. My question is, how do we ensure that there is consequence management for their transgressions and lack of accountability on their part? Okay, so I'm just going to ask those 3 questions and I invite the panelists to pick up on what they would like to respond to and perhaps say a final word before we close for today. So who's willing to go first? Any takers? Prof. Lungasile, you look ready.
Okay, I thought the first would be the last. Okay, no, let me take the first the first question is for Fani, and I'll take the one of journalists or journalism and so on. Well, I mean, journalists in this particular case. Once again, I mean, I'm reading this from afar, in Cape Town, reading social media, but also being in touch electronically and otherwise with people out there on the ground. On this particular case, there has been good coverage, and there's an organization, what's called New Frame, I think. New Frame, and I mean, they have given good coverage, and most of that coverage, you'll find in the Xalusa website. Even local newspapers like the Daily Dispatch, there's been a fair amount of coverage of events in that area. The problem we have with, I seem to have with journalists is that they choose which stories to report. And sometimes you think that a certain story is important and so on. You want it published and so on, and that story doesn't get no publication. And I suppose it has to do with the sort of the kind of society we live in. People, papers have to make money, and so they must write things that will sell and so on. And if it's not sensational, maybe you don't get much attention. I'm reminded here of how journalists picked up the struggle involving the lodge. The forum is very clear now about what they were addressing. They were addressing the issue of community participation and so on in decision-making process and so on. And General Holomisa of UDM picked up the issue of Mallorca, then politicized the whole thing by sort of saying that lodge belongs to Weziwe Tikana Kotiwe, and Kotiwe means get fired, and he said that Kotiwe must be fired, right? And that's what was reported and all over. But that was a good thing, but it was also sort of distracting people from the issues that were raised by the forum. So this is our experience now, of journalists. It's not just that case. Anywhere you go to, journalists would like something that would be newsworthy. And what may be newsworthy in their eyes may not be newsworthy for those people who would like issues raised by the journalists. But fortunately, this is where social media becomes important. If journalists don't want to publish what you say, you simply put them in social media. And in the case of Xalusa, they set up a website, and this is where they put their story. And people read what they want to do, that which has not been reported by journalists. Okay. Consequence management, I just want to say one thing to my dear friend, Melila. Consequence management, once again, it's clear that this we're in for a long haul. That, as one sort of reads and understands the struggle of the forum, one would realize that the forum, the basic question that they are asking is accountability and what happens to people who have been found to have transgressed things. And it's a long struggle, it's backwards and forwards, but for as long as the forum and other structures who will come in support for the forum doing, and for as long as we do that, there will be consequences for the transgressors. It may take time, but it will happen.
Thank you, Prof. Nombuzo, are you ready to share with us?
Yes. Dimna ndingatsho ukuthi into efanele ukwenziwa yimibutho enjengenyanda okokuqala ukubuilda i-alliance sibe ne-information ukwenzela abantu bahlale besazi okwenzekayo. Okwesibini kwenziwe i-awareness raising and also kubekho ii-campaigns kwizinto ezinjena, abantu bangazenzeli nje, siyazi uba kwenziwa ii-campaigns, kusherelwane nge-information, kubhalwe kwi-community news and kuthethwe over the radios ngezinto ezenzekayo. Kubekho neengxoxo ezikhoyo ezigruphini kwaba WhatsApp group ukwenzela uba abantu bakwazi ufumana neengcebiso kwezinye ii-comrades. Kubekho iingxoxo ezikhoyo koo-WhatsApp group ukwenzela uba abantu bahlale ingqondo zi-awe ngokwenzekayo.
So what I think Nomvuzo is responding to the question, what the responsibility of social movements is at times like this. So I think that the most important thing as in Nomvuzo, the most important thing is building alliances so that through these alliances, there can be a chain of information gathering, giving and gathering for people so that people have an awareness of what the issues are, what the issues that are affecting them are. And this can be done through radio announcements, through dialogues on WhatsApp, through community newspapers, just a process of raising awareness, helping people to be aware of what's going on in their lives so that they have a say in it.
Campaigns?
Sorry, Nomvuzo, campaigns is one of the ways, and goes as one of the ways in which people are informed, just running campaigns within the communities. Those are the main things that she thinks are important. I just want to point out here, because I just caught sight of a question around whether adults were involved. At the beginning, I may have laid a lot of emphasis on the involvement of young people. I think for me, this was exciting because young people, for once, are involved in something meaningful, and they are at home, out of school, and they took action. But this is through the actions of Nomvuzo and her colleagues who were bringing them on board to organize with them. It's not that adults are not involved, but adults were leading, as the example of Nomvuzo and her colleagues in the activist movements. They brought the young people into their group to support the cause because they are equally affected.
Thank you.
So right, Nomvuzo?
Yes, right, covered.
Yes.
Well, the question that I am going to respond to is with regard to the People's IDP that we have started in the Sakisizwe area. It's a process that it was started because we wanted to have a way of engaging the municipality. And one way is to come up prepared with a document that expresses what the people are the needs of the people. And so this idea of the people's IDP came into the picture because we wanted to have a document that expresses needs of the people, and through which, with that document, we would be able to engage the municipality, in fact, demand that the municipality addresses the needs that are expressed in the IDP. This idea of the People's IDP has also been influenced by the fact that we have observed that even though the municipality's processes of compilation of IDPs is supposed to be participatory, the reality is that its technical managers people who would put together a document and bring it to communities to say, this is what we are going to bring to you, not to ask what the people want. So the document that we thought of, the idea of the People's IDP, was informed by that observation, and we wanted to have a document through which we could start engaging the municipality and influence the direction the municipality is taking as influenced by people from below. That's that. And where this process is that we have been compiling, going to various communities to compile what people would consider to be issues that need to be included in the document. But the process has been overtaken by the developments which are contained in the proposal that Prof has spoken about, that was formulated and submitted to the municipality, which says that the municipality must prioritize what we are proposing in the current document that is presented to the municipality. I just wanted to also add to what Nomvuzo was raising about the role of Inyanda and other social movements similar to Inyanda, is that they have been helpful in taking up these struggles and mobilizing communities in other areas to pledge solidarity to the local struggles. I mean, when the people of Cala Reserve were struggling for rural democracy, when they were challenging an imposed headman in their area, their struggle was taken up by other communities, and as a result of that, the demand for elected leaders in rural communities spread. Not only, I mean, it went beyond Cala Reserve. Most areas in the Eastern Cape, communities in the Eastern Cape are also involved in that struggle. This is through the involvement of movements such as Inyanda that has been able to link up these struggles, assist communities to talk to each other in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Nomvuzo, did you want to have a final word there?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, ndifuna uphinde ndivele kule nto ye-information. uDr. Fani undikhumbuza umba wecase yaseCala Reserve. ICala Reserve, abantu baseCala Reserve, amandla bawafumene, bawube befumene i-information kuprof nge-research. Kwa-researchwa ngesithethe saseCala Reserve nangendlela izibonda ebezibekwa ngayo. Batsho bawafumana amandla because bane-information epheleleyo. Ndisapota le nto uba without information akho ndawo sizawuya kuyo.
Thank you very much, Nkosi Nomvuzo kakhulu. I think this is such an important point you are making. I will start with making my own comment before maybe speak your words and then make my own comments. Nomvuzo wants to add here to this point of action by the community and responsibilities of the community, and says that in the case of Cala Reserve, this community where this whole incident of this guest house occurred, I'm reminded that the reason we took action with regards to this issue that was mentioned by Professor Ntsebeza is because we got inspiration from Professor Ntsebeza. We got inspiration from his research. This guided us, this gave us a sense of confidence to move forward in terms of campaigning against the appointment of these people who we did not elect ourselves. That inspiration was from him. So the comment from me came very quickly, is really what Professor Ntsebeza was saying earlier, that his research is at the interface, is a dialogue between science and society. You know, it's that you know, brings these two together, that it's not just about scholarship, it's about the critical importance of scholarship for communities. And this, in fact, what Nomvuzo just said now is validation of that point. It indicates very clearly the importance of doing research that matters, doing research that is accountable to communities. And thank you, Nomvuzo, for coming back to that and reminding us about that, that important points of the inspiration from the research to acts, that the two are in dialogue together. You act because it's very clear that this is what lies at the constitutional level as something that the communities can do. You just taking agency and reclaiming the agency. So thanks very much.
Thank you. That's a lovely point to end on, just emphasizing that important connection between scholars and activists, and what is possible and what is shown to be possible here. I want to thank the speakers for coming and sharing your kind of grounded wisdom on these issues, and thanks, Prof, for translating for us. I also want to quickly mention that our next webinar will be in 2 weeks, same time, same place. It's a wonderful panel that's been organized and coordinated by Adebayo Sekiro, and it will be on issues of historical trauma and is entitled African Literature, Performance Theatre, and Transgenerational Trauma. So I look forward to bringing that to you next week on the 10th, sorry, in 2 weeks' time, on the 10th of June. Thank you also to our audience for the wonderful questions, the wonderful engaging questions, to our panel, and to everyone. I wish you a safe and sane week, as they say, and to stay warm if you're in South Africa, where the temperature has very much just dipped. Please joining me in thanking our speakers. And yeah, bye everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks. Please.